Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Neon Orange palette from Huda Beauty. She has just released 3 of these palettes. There is a neon green, a neon pink, and obviously neon orange, but I only picked up the one, so hence we're just talking about the one. Alright, let's do this. By way of background information, I purchased the palette off the Sephora Canada website for $37. It is also available on the Huda Beauty website as well. I have typically loved her Mini Obsessions palettes in the past. I have all of the ones that come in the black packaging, and then up there you can see all of the jewel toned ones as well. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to purchase the other 2, but I don't feel super compelled to buy them right now. I would certainly want to see them in stores. So the green one online doesn't look particularly neon to me, and the pink one, as you'll hear me say when I talk about the swatches, but the pink one looks like there's an awful lot of overlap with the orange one. So I'd want to see them compared side to side before I'd shell out another $37 for it. So what do you get in here? You get 9 eyeshadows. I will say the packaging is a little bit bigger than the previous packaging is. It's also made of plastic, whereas these ones are the hard cardboard, but both come with a mirror and both have 9 eyeshadows inside. On the back of the original palettes, it says that there are 9 times 0.04 ounces. This one says that there are 9 times 0.038 ounces. Rounding up brings it to 0.04, so I'm not sure what to make of that, to be honest. So as you can see, it is very bright, very pretty, very on trend for summer, and I have to say that I really do love the packaging. I really just love how bright and fun it is, and also how functional with that nice solid clasp. I should clarify, I've been calling it an eyeshadow palette, but it is actually a pressed pigment palette. So those mattes are pressed pigments. I'm honestly not super aware of what the distinction is between the two, but I know there is one. What is the difference between an eyeshadow and a pressed pigment?
Here's a summary from Creme de la Creme. Pressed pigments are just as they sound. They are actual pigments pressed into a pan. They usually require an eyeshadow base or concealer for the pigment to stick to.
Okay, but it doesn't tell me what an eyeshadow is. Okay, so eyeshadows contain a mixture of pigments, micas, binders, and preservatives to create a creamy, smooth formula. Alright, pressed pigments are just pigments pressed into a pan. Alright, well there you go. According to Sephora, this is a pressed pigment palette. Although, according to the ingredients, there is mica in some of them. So, I don't know. All I can talk to is how it applies. So, the shimmer shadows are quite beautiful. And they are quite shimmery. Obviously, that's what I have on my eyes today. They pick up with a brush, no problem. I was able to intensify them, particularly on the inner corner with some setting spray. I really didn't experience any frustrations in that regard. What I will say, I've had this on for about 4 hours now, and I do have little flecks of glitter floating down onto the tops of my cheeks. So and I do have the eye tutorial, I guess, included in here. When I applied it, I just used a regular primer for my eyes, and then I blended up the crease and all that, and then cut it with concealer. So the shimmery shadows are just pressed onto concealer at this point. A glitter glue may help to reduce the amount of fallout that there is. The fallout didn't happen as I was applying it, it's happening over time, and all I've been doing is sitting down here and filming other videos, so it's not like I've been particularly active. So it's not anything horrendous, like I can't pick it up on the viewfinder. And even from here, it's just a very light amount, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention in case you are particularly concerned with that kind of thing. In terms of the overall wear after 4 hours, like it's still sparkly as anything. There is creasing happening where my actual eye crease is, but I'm not prepared to go out and blame the shadows. I think it might be the concealer underneath it because it's just a bit thicker than what I would usually use, which is just an eye primer. So I'm going to blame the concealer rather than the eyeshadow. The mattes are beautiful. They're beautiful as I expected them to be. They do blend out very, very nicely. You'll see in the swatches that I do have a few that I think are just pushing towards disappointing, though not quite there. And it really comes down to just a personal preference in terms of intensity. So the shadows themselves are not bad. It's just the color choice that the company made. I think they should have just amped it up just a little bit just to get us to that true neon definition. I don't know. I just don't think it's super neon. And that's kind of my reasoning for not wanting to pick up the green one in particular, is that I don't think that the neon green palette looks very neon on the website. Again, I'd like to see it in person. So aside from that, I really don't have much to say about this. There are no shades in here that I think are terrible. Nothing is dry or patchy. The shadows or pigments themselves are velvety smooth. Like they just feel very nice in the pan, and they do apply very nicely and blend out beautifully, even the darker shades. In removing the swatches off my arm, there really is no staining, like even with that dark pink, which I thought there might be. So they're not, despite being pressed pigments, they're not super stainy. Now they were only on my arm for a very brief amount of time. We'll see when I remove my eyeshadow just how badly it is. If it's like atrocious, I will just run it across the screen here so that you know. I am quite happy with it. I know I will use it again. Sometimes I do reviews on palettes and I'm like, yep, so never using that again. But this one I definitely think that I will be cracking out and using. I think it is very pretty. It's just these two shades here, I wish that they had just kicked it up a notch, just to make it that much more actually neon. I think they're playing a little fast and loose with that terminology. And certainly the packaging makes it think that it's going to be a little bit more bold than what it actually is. So overall, not a massive complaint. My thinking is they've done it this way so that it's a little bit more accessible to everyday consumers, if you will. But when a brand calls something neon, I just expect that it's going to be neon. But here we are. I think neon is the new holographic, where everybody called everything holographic when it was really just sort of duochrome. So I think that's kind of what we're getting at here, is that neon is just another word for bright and is not actually referring to neon shades. So I sound like I'm disappointed in the palette. I'm not. It performs very nicely. It's just if you are looking for truly neon pigments, I would look to smaller indie brands because they tend to just go for it. All right, now that I've had my say on that and probably confused the hell out of you, for which I truly apologize, let's get into the swatches. So here we have the swatches. So I did the 3 shimmery shadows here, and then all the rest are the mattes. I did prime my arm today. I typically don't, but I did today just so that these shades could be as vibrant as possible. So I just used the Benefit, what is this, Air Patrol primer. Just applied that and then did one swipe down for each of these. So some of them that look a little bit patchy, if you blended them out, they're not quite as bad as they look on just one finger swatch down. The metallics are absolutely beautiful. I will say that this yellow one is a lot smoother in the pan than these two over here, but once applied, they all have the same kind of finish to them, and the mattes themselves are quite beautiful. I wish that the yellow was a little bit more on the neon side than what it is, but there we have it. I love this purpley pinky shade here, and I love this shade over here as well. These ones, I wanted them to have just a little bit more punch to them than they do. I just feel that they look a little bit muted particularly for it being a neon palette. But overall, very pretty. I did look at all three, briefly debated buying all three, but managed to hold back and just get one. In looking at the pictures online, the neon pink palette looks like it has very similar tones as this one, with some additions of additional pink shades, obviously. But overall, I'm happy that I got this one. I think it's the most versatile of the bunch and the most neon. But you can see that some of them are just a little bit lackluster, and I really wish that they had just kind of gone, like just balls to the wall and gone for it with the neon aspect. But overall, quite beautiful, and really no duds in terms of like being super patchy or super dusty, anything like that. Alright, so now we've seen how it applies on my arm. Let's take a look at how it applies on my eyes. For this look, I used all of them except for the matte yellow shade. So I've got 8 different shades on. So let's take a look at how I did it. So I've already primed my eyes, so I'm just going to go straight into the palette. I'm going to pick up this bottom orange matte shade here with a nice fluffy blending brush. And I'm going to put that into the crease and blend it up towards the brow bone.
The sooner you know it, the less do we hurt. Let me speak the truth.
To help establish a gradient, I'm then going to pick up this shade and mix these two together. So just a little bit on the brush and then a little bit down here. And then put that a little bit lower than that shade I just applied and blend it again towards the crease.
Let's make.
Then I'm just taking the tail of it out a little bit beyond where my brow is, just to sort of give that longer shape to the eye. And if some of it gets on the lid, it's not a big deal because we're going to go in with concealer. The last shade that I'm going to apply to my crease area is this one right over here. And I'm using a somewhat flatter brush just so that I can have a little bit more precision, but it's still fluffy enough that I can blend with it. It's a nice little hybrid brush. No idea who it's by or what it's called. Oh yes, I do. It is the... Jesus. I cannot read that font. Why? Why do brands do this? Make things really, really small and also put it in like ridiculous font that I can't read. It looks like Schmeary Glam or Schmur Glam, but I'm pretty sure that's not it. And because I have slightly hooded eyes, like they're not completely hooded, but you can see that there is some like covering of the actual crease. I'm going to blend this up above where the actual crease line is, just so that it's a little bit visible when it's all said and done.
Make up a big bonfire on the beach with the stars as our lighters.
For actually cutting the crease, I'm going to use the Bye Bye Under Eye from IT Cosmetics. This one's in the shade Light, which is very light. I've just put some on the back of my hand, and I've got a brush here. This is from Simply Simmons. It's the number 10, and I bought it at Michael's for like $3, but you can see just how flat it is. And then to get even more precise, I have the same brand, but this one's the number 4. And this one honestly might have been less than $2. So there's that. So I'm just picking it up from the back of my hand and then just kind of tapping off the excess so I don't overload my lid. And then, rather than try to create an artificial line, I'm just going to use a little bit of a hack that I've seen in a number of other people's videos. I'm going to put this onto the actual lid, about as far out as I plan to take it, and then into that inner portion as well. And then just open my eyes, roll them around a little bit, and there you can see that it transfers up, and that's as high up as I need to make my line. So then just with whatever is remaining on the brush, just going to cover the rest of the shadow here.
too long. Love is lovely when it starts. Come with an open heart and give romance a chance and get to know me.
And then for the edge here, I'm just gonna tap it out with my finger,
Bail out and leave.
just so that it just kind of fades away naturally. I'm gonna use this one up here. Normally I would just go in with my finger for something like that, and if I could find my brush, that would be immensely helpful. There it is. But because I want some precision, I'm going to use this flat brush here. This one's from Volair. It's the EO6, and I'm just gonna pick that orangey, shimmery shadow up.
We don't need to work so hard. We don't need to act strong. It's been too long. Oh, love is
Just using the other side of the brush, I'm gonna go into the pink sparkly shade here.
give romance a chance
And put that towards the outer portion of where that concealer is.
to know me just for me. Don't bail out and leave.
To help define that cut a little bit more, I'm going to take a super precise angled brush. This one is the EO6 from Sigma, and go back into this shadow here. I'm just going to go along that outer line there.
I've been feeling so small. Watch the clock ticking off the.
Then I'm just going to take a clean blending brush. This is the MAC 221, and just blend that additional shadow so that it's not quite as harsh of a line. Like trying to find a balance, which frankly just creates an awful lot of work, but there it is. Then I'm going to go back in with this purpley shade again and build up the outer corner.
Try not to hold me down. Feel alive when I'm in this town.
I also used that same shadow on a flat liner brush and put that under the lower lash line.
Try not to hold me down. Feel alive.
And then blended it out with this pinky coral shade here.
I wanna take a trip to Mars. Nothing can break me. No, nothing can break me.
I also picked up a little bit of that orange down in the corner and blended that out again. For my inner corner, I applied this sparkly yellow shade here.
Lay my troubles to rest. Blow the smoke through my city.
For my brow bone, I didn't want to put the sparkly yellow up there, so I just used Pearl from Becca. Ran that under the brow bone. I'm going to do liner and mascara off camera, but what I used was one of the cream gel liners from ColourPop. This is in the shade Crossed, and then I used the CoverGirl Exhibitionist mascara.
It's just what I do when I'm out, so try not to hold me down. Feel alive when I'm in this town. Look at these beautiful stars. I wanna.
Alright guys, so that is it. The only other thing I wanted to point out is that I have not seen anywhere that these are vegan or cruelty-free. So if those are particular concerns for you, I would suggest that you do further research just to satisfy yourself, because I know especially with cruelty-free, people have different standards for what that means to them, so I leave that decision to you. Alright, that is it. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, just be a decent human being. Bye for now.
Mars, nothing can break me. No, nothing can break me.